My name is Dr. Sarah Myhill and I'm here speaking for Life the Basic Manual. Addiction is a subject I probably speak more about to my patients than any other because Western lives are intrinsically addictive. And I see life going through an addictive ladder, if you like, which starts off with sugar and carbohydrates and moves on to chocolate, to caffeine, to alcohol, to nicotine, to cannabis and to heroin and hardline drugs of addiction. And then I see the addicts who they suddenly realise, well, perhaps this isn't quite so healthy. And so they come back down, they replace that with alcohol and then they give up that and they replace the cigarettes with chocolate and they come back with caffeine and they end up with sugar. And I think that sugar is the most pernicious and worst addiction of all. In fact, I was thinking about it the other day. I'd almost rather my patients smoked a cigarette than had a sweet drink because I think sugar is as dangerous as smoking. And the reason we get addicted is because in the short term, these substances give us a little boost of energy and they mask the feelings of stress. Now, I think many symptoms that we experience, such as depression, such as anxiety, such as stress, are the symptoms that the brain gives us when energy demand starts to get close to energy delivery. I think of energy as money, and energy is something that we choose to spend in different ways. Now, it's great fun spending money and it's jolly hard work earning it, and it's the same with energy. It's jolly hard work for the body to generate energy and it's great fun spending energy. And drugs mask those. The point here being that if energy demand exceeds energy delivery, then we die because we haven't got the energy for the heart to work, we haven't got the energy for the brain to work. So the brain cannot allow us a situation where energy demand exceeds energy delivery because that's death. It's like a bank that you are not allowed to loan any money to anybody. You can't have any money on tick. It's all got to be paid for up front. Now, what addictions do is they mask those unpleasant symptoms of stress, of depression, or anxiety. And if you mask those symptoms, then the energy equation narrows. The brain suddenly allows us to spend more energy than we're allowed to spend. And one occasionally hears of instances of young people who go to a ball or whatever and they take a drug such as ecstasy or cocaine or whatever, and it masks that energy gap. They dance all night, they dance all day, they're extrovert, jolly, and then they drop dead. And my view is that they drop dead because suddenly energy demands have exceeded energy delivery and the heart literally stops. So drugs and addictive substances are highly desirable because they mask those deeply unpleasant and distressing symptoms of stress, of anxiety, of depression, or whatever. But there's then payback time because we spend more energy than we should. Suddenly the addiction wears off. The brain suddenly realises that there's a very narrow gap between energy delivery and energy demand, and it says, we've got to rest, we've got to improve that gap, and therefore we feel acutely fatigued. What does fatigue do? It stops us spending energy, and therefore we can build up our reserves again. But the trouble with sugar is it's a very socially acceptable addiction. Everybody does it, and therefore it's safe. It's very cheap. And everybody is addicted to sugar. And I know that because it's very difficult persuading people to do ketogenic diets because they have to get over that addictive spell before they can get onto a proper evolutionary correct paleo-ketogenic diet. So I talk a lot about addiction because sugar is the big issue. But one addiction leads to another. And if you're a sugar addict, then you're more likely to become an alcohol addict. You're more likely to smoke. You're more likely to take other drugs. And of course, the big political push now is, let's use cannabis. That's a lovely drug. It makes people feel great. It masks lots of symptoms. But we begin to run into exactly the same problem with cannabis as we do with alcohol and with nicotine and with sugar. We have to recognise that these are drugs. We have to recognise that they're addictive. And to give up an addiction, you've got to give them all up. And I see many amazing people who have conquered alcohol addiction, who have conquered nicotine addiction. And what they've done is they have swapped it for another addiction, which is sugars and carbohydrates. And I suspect those things are as pernicious and as dangerous as the other drugs. And all the more reason to do a paleo-ketogenic diet, which is not an addictive diet. You don't get hungry on the diet, you don't have to eat, you're not driven by food, and once established, energy levels are better, the brain works more efficiently, it's the starting point to prevent all disease, and if you want to function to your full potential for as long as evolution will permit, and the theoretical maximum is 120 years, then you can't do that on addiction. You have to get rid of them out the way.